Laurita Gorman, welcome to the Uncivilized podcast. It is truly a pleasure. I think we're about to have a bonkers episode. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure and a joy to be here.
Thank you. For those of you who weren't privy to our prior conversation, Laurita and I have just been exploring all of the intricacies of how tech can screw you up and turn you around. And yeah, but we're here. We're ready to rock and roll. Tell the audience a little bit about you.
So, I am a spoken word artist. I'm a poet. I'm a therapist. I'm a human. And I'm Canadian living in Australia. That feels important to share.
Yeah. How does one go from being a therapist to being a poet?
um, I think I was a poet first. For me, when I look back, I actually went back to Canada to visit my family and found old journals of mine and found old poems that I written when I was 9, 10 years old. And then I would bring those to my therapist to dissect them and help them figure out what does this mean.
You do that as a kid or you did that as
I
an
did that.
adult?
No, I was an adult. So I was probably 20 years old when I went to my very first therapist and brought him my poems because it was very metaphor rich. My poetry back then still is now, but very
Okay.
metaphor rich. And I was like, can we talk about what this means for an 11-year-old? So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Is
poet
that
first.
what led you into therapy? Into becoming a therapist?
Um, oof, that's a good question. I think given my upbringing, my childhood, my
Mm,
experiences as a young adult, I always had this desire to help others. I always wanted to support people. I knew that people went through hard shit and were
mhm,
suffering. And I think back then, I wanted to help the younger version of me
mm,
to not suffer so much. And
yeah.
so, yeah, I saw that therapist and it was great. He was very helpful. I also have
Mhm,
seen shitty therapists, but he was great. And then I went into social work and then worked in social work, traditional social work jobs for a very long time. I've written
mhm,
poetry from some of those experiences as well as a frontline social worker. And yeah, I think I've always had this desire to help people. And then now, present me believes, oh, I can help people through my poetry, not just
mm,
through my profession as a therapist.
yeah.
So it's a bit of like a bit of a blend. I do a bit of both.
Hmm. I want to get into your poetry. This is the reason I wanted to have you on. And I think I'm going to even
Mm,
title this episode The Path of Poetry.
mm,
I
mm,
have written poetry when I've been told to. So at men's
mm,
workshops, at other workshops, especially a teacher of mine who just passed, his name was Robert Masters, would have all of the men write poetry and then share it with the group. And it was one of the more moving things that we do. And one of the more surprising things that we do because most of us don't write poetry day to day. Talk to me about the turning point for you when this went from something you put in your journal, something that's kind of personal, to
mm,
I think I want to share this with the world because that is
mm.
such a leap from what's
Such
ours
a-
to what's now criticizable, judgeable, uh,
Yeah.
and even ingestible to the public. So talk to me
Mm.
about that transition.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can think back to the first poem I shared publicly at a slam, but I had written it much prior to that. And I'd written it while I was on a walk. And that's usually how I write. I go for a walk and I write in my head, and it's very inconvenient. So I do a lot of voice notes. But I was going through some turmoil with some relational dynamic things with family. And I'd written this poem, very metaphor rich. And I just kind of tucked it away. And then it was only after I received a cancer diagnosis that everything stopped, because as it would naturally. And at the time, I was working really hard as a coach and as a therapist, burning myself out. I was not balanced in how I was working and living as a human being. So everything came to a stop when that happened, and I was getting surgery and all the things. And I just stopped operating my business the way that I did. I just stopped. And I didn't know if I would return. But in that process of recalibration, I guess you can say. I started to recognize that I wasn't doing things I really wanted to do.
Mm,
And I was doing the therapy thing because that's what I went to school for 10 years. And, that's what I know. That's what I'm known for. There's a big identity piece with that as well. And I started to realize, wow, life is fragile. And what do
mm,
I actually want to be doing with my time here? And I think back to when I was a kid, I was singing, I was dancing, I wanted to go to musical theater camp so bad, and it got canceled the week before it started at 11 years old.
mm,
And I never tried to go back. And so after that cancer diagnosis, I just said, fuck it, I'm going to go to a musical theater audition. Why not? And so I did that, did a
mm,
show, sang a solo song on stage in front of a whole bunch of strangers. And then it was later that year that I said, screw it, I'm just going to go do a poetry slam. And I went to the poetry slam, and what they do, I don't know if, have you ever been to one? Have you ever been to an actual poetry slam?
I've only seen Buddy Wakefield
Okay.
like
Yeah.
do his own poems, but not an actual slam. No.
Okay, so how it works is you just put your name in a hat and they call them out
Yeah.
at random, right? So I was dying of anxiety the whole night because I'm waiting for my name to be called. I've never done this before. And the end of the night comes and he hadn't said my name. And I was like, what? I signed up, blah, blah, blah. So
Mm,
Andy went up and said, she's here to do a poem. And he had just forgotten to put my name in the hat. Anyway, so I get up, I do my piece, and I ended up winning second place to my surprise. And because of that, that meant I had to go into the finals. But that wasn't my plan. For me, it was just like
mm,
one and done, tick off the
mm,
list. I did a poetry slam.
mm,
And I never went back until finals. So that was in June of that year in 2024. And finals was in December. And so I never went back. They do it every month. And it wasn't until the finals I went back. And something at that finals, I actually did a poem about Laken Riley, and because that story was really heavy in the news at that time. And that's the piece that I did. And something really shifted for me that night after sharing that piece with the audience. I had a lot of women come up to me, say certain things. I had some women who would just grab my arm and just look at me. They didn't even need to say anything. They just looked at me with a certain look in their eyes, and I knew what that meant.
mm,
Um, and that was it. That was the turning point. So that was 2024 in December. And then later that month, I went to Woodford Festival. I did a men's mental health poem there, and I won there, and I had this standing ovation. It was wild. Like, it was a really uncomfortable experience, to be honest. I'm very shy still to this day when it comes to that. And then 2025 was just me performing and winning slams. And it felt for me that, oh, I'm finally using my voice in the way that I'm supposed to be using my voice
mm,
after
mm,
all these years.
mm,
I'm finally doing the thing that I'm
mm,
actually meant to do from a soul level, that this is
mm.
in my DNA. This is part of my contract here. It's what it feels
Yeah.
like. And it led to winning the local slam here for the Australian nationwide slam. And then I went to state finals and I won at state finals, which then led me to the national finals in Sydney Opera House, which is absolutely wild that
Yeah.
it has led to all of that. And it's been a beautiful journey, and also one that I think has saved me in more ways than I
Mm.
realize.
Okay, beautiful. There's a ton to dive into here about poetry, about soul. I have an idea about something called voice, choice, and truth. But before we
Mm.
move into that, I would love to hear what about Laken Riley grabbed you, and maybe for the audience who may not know who she was, a sentence or two about her story.
Yeah. So Laken Riley was I can't remember how old she was, 20 something year old woman in the States who was going on a morning run, like as she always did, and was attacked, assaulted, and killed on
Mm,
her morning run. And I didn't know about the story when it happened. I only learned about it when it was back in the news because of the trial that was happening. So that was heavy in the news in November 2024 ish.
mm,
And I mean, the sad thing is, I hear about these stories on the news all the time, but there was just something about hers. I don't know what it was, Traver, that really got me, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I couldn't stop thinking about her and
mm,
the details of the story of she did everything right, which is the name of my poem as a result,
Mm.
that she did everything right. And still this happened. And it was in broad daylight, going for a run on a regular trail that she always went to. It wasn't secluded necessarily. And she called her mom before going on a run to just have a chat with her mom. And she tried to call her mom again. And her 911 call, like everything, it stayed in my bones. And I could
Mm.
not stop thinking about her. And simultaneously, I had written a verse. Poetry is so interesting to me how it comes through. I'd written a verse about hysterectomies. And at the time, I didn't think it was anything to do with that. And I remember just thinking, what is this poem about? What is this poem about? And then other verses would come. I tend to not write in a start to finish way. I just get these random stanzas that come through. And when I started to look at it all, I had this moment of, oh shit, I know exactly what this is about. And it was about Laken Riley. It was
Mm.
about my lived experience as a woman. It was about many other women who have been killed on a run and on a walk, who I name in the poem as well.
Mm.
And it's a poem that gets me every time I perform it. It's a one that does something to other people listening to it, because it's just really real and speaks to the gravity of it. It was actually the poem that won me at state finals as well. And it's not a poem that is about anger per se, but I speak to that, and I speak to palatability. I speak to the systems that are in place that aren't there to say that they're there to support women, but
Mm.
don't support women. Yeah.
Yeah, that case grabbed a lot of people.
Yeah.
I remember it was not going to be a joke, but I was going to sell T-shirts that said "Stop killing female joggers,"
Mm,
and that was like, hey, I get it. There's so much more violence and horribleness that are happening, but maybe we could all make a deal as men to just stop this. Like that's
yeah.
like a starting point. And I remember
Yeah.
talking, even I was gonna do a post on it, and my assistant was like, "You will get annihilated." And
Mm,
I was gonna do it anyway. Of, hey, why can't we start here?
mm,
You know, it's,
yeah.
you're right. It's such a horrible, horrible event. Part of when I came out of the dark, Larita, I had organized somehow a seven modality domain idea called OSLI, which stands for One Life, Soul Led, All In. And
Mm,
it was a reorientation of my own being, reorientation of my own life, uh, something I'm teaching, a different idea. And the sixth domain is voice, choice, and truth.
mm,
And how do we have a soulful expression of our voice, the choices we make, and actually experience what I believe to be the deepest truth that we can all have, which is soul level.
mm,
You said you found your voice on a soul level.
mm,
I know that's a big sentence to unpack, but if you would, I would love to have you speak to that.
mm. Yeah. It is huge. And it's interesting to be asked to dissect it, because for me, I think back to little me and how grateful I am to little me who knew what to do with her big emotions as a child.
Mm.
I just knew to put pen to paper and go into my room and write. And how grateful I am for little me and my system that knew how to metabolize hard things through the written word. And other people do other things to do that, to metabolize their experiences. And for me, that's what I knew. And so when I write now, I often think of the little me that I'm writing for as well. And there's a lot of things that I write that are things that I've lived through, experiences that I've had, or things that I notice in the world. And I need to give it somewhere else to live outside of my body, because my body has been through a lot of experiences. And for me, it's about using the written word. But there's also something to say, Traver, not just about writing it in my journal, but to actually give it voice and to be witness on stage. There's something so different that
Mm-hmm.
happens where I'm witnessed in my fullest expression of myself, in the fullest truth of myself, and to have other people receive me and my words, there's something different that happens than just poetry on a page. Poetry on a page is powerful, yes, but there's something different that happens when I'm activating this. And it's
Mm,
almost that it's the next step for metabolizing it. And now it's like, this poem is no longer mine. It's no longer mine. It's for other people, and it lives outside of me now as a way for me to just clear my channel and
mm,
just keep writing and keep sharing to clear my vessel so that I am not harboring all of this. And so it just feels like something has been unlocked for me, and a sense of space and freedom and authenticity that has been trapped, I feel,
mm,
for a really long time.
mm. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, let's take it to the audience. Why
Mm,
does why is it powerful to animate it
mm,
and have it leave us? And for people who go, God, I remember, I think I wrote about this in Man Uncivilized, Rita. Before I started writing publicly, I literally felt like there were caged animals in my chest that were
yes.
just like clawing themselves out. And I needed alcohol and drugs and porn and everything I could to keep them calm in there.
Mm,
Talk to me and talk, or actually talk to the audience, if you would, about the importance of excuse me, putting voice to these things, but then letting it be real out in the world. What's some
mm,
of the journey of that? Because it's I've done it. You put a book in the world, and it's not this brilliant thing you write in your head. People tell you to go fuck yourself. You make an
yeah.
Instagram post, people tell you to go fuck yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
and it becomes there's a different journey. So I'd love to just hear from
Mm,
you. One, for the audience, what's the importance of that, and the importance of the journey? And then
mm,
two, what has that journey been like for you?
yeah. So for me, I need to give it somewhere else to live outside of my body is first and foremost. So this is for me. This is my starting point is I've got something on my heart that won't go away, and I need to give it language. For me, it's giving language to things that sometimes we might not be able to have language for. But for myself, how do I give language to this felt sense inside of me after I've had this experience or this experience? How do I articulate what that's actually like for me as a person in a body? And that's important to name it. And even the links of that with therapy, like how many times in therapy you say we have to name something, right? And for me,
Mm,
poetically, I like to name something.
mm,
And Traver, there's also this part about poetry specifically that lets me name something a little indirectly,
mm,
because directly might feel a bit unsafe sometimes. And so, with use of metaphor and creative writing, you can still express, you know what you mean as the writer, as the poet,
mm,
you know exactly what you mean. And it's up to the audience to interpret that. And they might interpret it in their own way as well. And for me to get up on stage and voice it, it feels like a declaration. It feels like truth just pouring out of my lips
mm,
that needs somewhere to go so that I'm not suffering with that inside of me. And to have it land for someone else. And I think I messaged you the other day that I need to tell you about that story. Somebody witnessed one of my poems in live time, and somebody I don't know. And we had a conversation 2 weeks later. And it was just the other day. And she said, I need you to know how powerful that set was for me. And of course, I was really grateful to hear that. And she said, no, I really need you to understand.
mm,
She said, I went home with my partner, and he was really moved by one of your poems. I was really moved by a different poem. And I realized I don't feel safe with him. And I
mm.
ended it that night.
Oof.
And I was like, I'm like, well, he's probably cursing me first and foremost.
Yeah.
But uh, it just showed me the impact of my truth and voicing my truth. That's for me, yes. But there's also someone else in that room who needs to hear that, and to have the words that you can give to something.
Mm,
And she went on about how, why am I going to waste my time? why am I going to waste my time? I don't want
Mm.
that. That's not for me. I don't feel safe with him.
Mhm.
And that's probably one of the biggest compliments I could receive as a writer and as a poet, that it's moved somebody to make a life change that is in alignment with their worth, their values, and what they want.
Yeah, was there any sense of responsibility or heaviness or any kind of I remember the first time someone got the uncivilized symbol tattooed on them. Now we
Mm.
have dozens of guys with it tattooed on them, and I was like, oh, I can't just willy nilly quit this idea in a weekend if I'm like, nah, I don't really want to do this anymore. It's beyond me. There's
Yeah.
gravitas to it. So I'm curious
Mm.
for you, other than it being complimentary, was there
Mm.
any tonal change of like, oh shit, my words have power that I may
Yeah,
not have recognized prior?
there was definitely a moment when I first heard that, a bit of a uh-oh.
Mm.
I'm a homewrecker. I'm breaking people up. But but for obviously it was for healthy good reasons.
Sure, sure.
But yes, there definitely, especially with some of the things I talk about. You know, I talk about men's mental health and suicide. I talk
Mm.
about violence against women. You know, I talk about some big heavy things. And not all my poems, but some of them are in that way. And so I wonder, when someone's receiving my words, there are moments where I think, oh, how is that landing for someone, and what does that mean for them? It's not just that night. It's, how is this the next day for them and the next week for them? What is it stirring within them? And, you know, for example, if somebody wants to go make a report to the police, that's a really big thing to do.
Mhm.
And I hope they have the support to do that, you know?
Mm.
So, because I've been through that journey, I know what that's like. And it rattles you, it wrecks you in a way. And so when I think about my writing, yes, I'm grateful that it can move people and inspire people and help them shift things. And there is that sense of a little bit of that responsibility of, how is this going to land? And because I'm a big feeling, gooey heart woman, I think of people after, and I wonder, I hope they're okay. And I hope they're getting the support that they need.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. It's unique, isn't it, to recognize the power in something that's innate in you.
Mm,
Oh, I've been doing this since I was 9, you said, right? Or I was writing poetry in journals, and yet there is an effect that the words have on many people.
hmm
Tell me about the effect they have on you. You said prior a little while ago that the poetry saved you.
mm. um, yeah, last year, and still into this year, to be honest, has been an incredibly challenging time for me.
Mm.
And my mental health hasn't been the greatest. And to recognize that, even though I'm a therapist and I know the things and I have the tools, it doesn't matter. I'm not immune by any means.
Right.
And it has been a year that has brought me to my knees more times than I
Mm.
can count. And thank God for poetry. Thank God for me having an outlet to share what I need to share. And some poems haven't been shared publicly, and they are not meant to be yet. They will at some point when I feel ready. But it's, for me, it's, I need to do something with this material. It needs to move through me in some way. And you know, last year when I won the local finals to go to state finals, and so state finals was in October. And prior to that, I was in Canada visiting my family and my dog. And coming back here is always really hard for me. It's always incredibly challenging. I know I go through a period of depression when I come back, because I'm leaving my family, I'm leaving my home, I'm leaving my roots. And so I was going through that, but I knew I had state finals in 2 weeks. And I remember thinking, gosh, it's going to take me a lot. I'm going to have to really dig deep to be able to do this. And then a week after being home, I got a call from my dad about my dog.
Mm.
And she wasn't okay. And far out, Traver, losing a dog is something people don't talk about
Mm.
enough about. And she was completely fine when I just left her. And she wasn't okay. And I had to make a decision. And I was running around to vets here, showing them x rays and trying to do everything I could. I was trying to FedEx one of my shirts so that she had my smell with her.
Mm.
And it wrecked me. And I had to make the decision to put her to sleep a week later.
Mm.
And I cried so much and grieved so hard that I injured my intercostal muscles around my heart. And a week later, I was at state finals. And a week after that, I'm at Sydney Opera House.
Wow.
And
Mm.
like, it was the hardest thing for me to do, and also the best thing for me to do at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
to do something to channel some of that energy. And so when I won at the state finals, I just started crying, and I knew it wasn't just for that. And Andy ran through the crowd to get to me
Mm.
because he knew that I was happy but falling apart inside. And it was like the relief of like, I did it. I
Mm-hmm.
did it under the enormity of this grief. I did it.
Mm.
Um, and people who aren't dog people don't understand, but she gave me the title of mom. And that's
Mm.
the only way I have that title is through her. And yeah, it's only been now, it's been 7 months. And it's only been in the last 2 weeks that I've actually told people. I
Mm.
haven't told people. I only told maybe like two friends because I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's a poem in there about her somewhere.
Mm.
It's not ready to be written yet. But not just that, but there's multiple things that I've been traversing behind the scenes. And poetry has saved me, has been an outlet for me, has been the thing that I can always return to no matter how messy the world gets, no matter how messy I feel, no matter what is going on. That is my constant.
Mm.
Just like how a dog is always your constant, it's the thing that's always there. Now it's poetry for me. It's my constant. It's the thing that's there. I open up my page and it's just me and the page, and I get to decide what I do with that.
Let's stick on that. You open the page. What happens?
Um, a lot of free writing at first, a
Mm.
lot of just free writing. Um, Things that maybe I want to say to people, but I don't, happens in those pages. And just the raw honesty of my feelings. And I think for a long time, I grew up thinking my feelings were too much, too big to stuff them down. And so for me, every time I'm putting pen to paper, or a lot of voice noting if I'm writing in the woods, um, it's being a truth teller of my own feelings and letting that live somewhere and express it, because for so long I couldn't express it. It wasn't allowed to be expressed, or there's consequences if I do express it. There's no consequences when I'm in the page or when I'm voice noting. It's just me with me. And it's a lot of free writing. And sometimes a line will come to me and I go, oh, that feels like something I need to add to a poem.
Mm.
Like one of my lines that I remember when I was on a walk was, I hope I don't harden.
Mm.
And that was just my line. I hope I don't harden. I hope I don't harden. And to stay soft in a hard world was the essence of that poem. And to be okay with the deep woman that I am. And it's a form of acceptance in a way, and reclamation, but also for me to accept me. And I don't need somebody else to accept it. I need to accept it. Because I think because it was so unaccepted for so long, I've disowned that part of me that feels very deeply
Mm.
about the world, about myself. Like I just feel everything. And I've got 6 planets in Scorpio. I'm as deep as the fucking ocean. Like, I have astrologers look at my chart and go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Thank you for seeing me. I think so,
Mhm.
but I don't
Mm.
know." But for so long, I thought that part of me was wrong, was bad, was not okay. And poetry helps me
Mm.
accept it, to live it, to breathe it, to own it, to know it as my power, and to know that it's doing something for someone else too, who
Yeah.
might feel the same way.
It's beautiful. Thank you. people who write get it. The
Mm,
people who make art get it.
hmm.
It's beyond cathartic. It is your soul pouring out onto the page.
Yeah.
I want to have you put your therapist hat on for a second, if you wouldn't mind.
Mm, hmm.
From a therapeutic lens, because I want people, and the reason I'm going to ask you this question is I want people listening to this to say, perhaps, maybe poetry is not my expression,
Mm,
but I need to have the same thing happen, perhaps with a different medium.
mm,
So, from a therapeutic standpoint, what's happening with you when you write poetry that saves you, that releases your mental health, that shifts your inner life, that gives voice? Like, what is that? Let's not diagnose that. Let's just tease that out from a therapeutic
mm,
lens.
mm. First thing that comes to mind is I'm naming something that hasn't been named.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying the damn thing.
Mm,
I'm saying the damn thing that has
yeah.
been in a closet that nobody else is saying. And I'm the one who's being the truth teller, the
Mm,
emotional truth teller. So I'm naming it. And also, I'm feeling it.
mm,
You know, often when I write, and even to this day, I have a performance this Saturday, and it's a piece I haven't shared yet with this community. Every time I practice it, Traver, I crack
mm,
every single time.
mm,
And so for me, when I'm writing, it's emotive. It's letting me feel, and I'm living those words. I'm embodied in those words. And so from a somatic perspective, because I'm a somatic therapist, it's like that's what's happening for me. It's
mm,
the soma is alive in those words, and whatever's happening in the felt sense, whether it's tears, whether it's anger, whether it's discomfort, whether there's pain in the pain body showing up, something is happening. So I'm naming it, and the expression of that is helping me experience it in live time. And then from there, it's the continuous writing of that. And there's almost this, it's like riding that wave. It's like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm anxious. There's this thing that I need to name, and then I name it, and then I ride that wave of activation from
mm,
like a therapist lens. And it's happening, it's happening. Oh my gosh, I'm riding that wave. And then I come down and I'm letting that happen. And the same thing happens when I'm on stage. I'm anxious as fuck to get up on stage.
mm,
And I'm like, oh my God, the activation. And then the release that happens after that. So I'm constantly flexing my nervous system and stretching my capacity at the same time. Every time I write, every time I get up on the microphone, that's happening for me. And I'm just expanding, expanding, expanding so that I can hold more and live
mm,
more and experience more in my body. But I've got to clear the space to do that. So
mm,
it's not poetry for everybody. Sometimes it's
mm,
dance. Sometimes it's just talking to somebody. Sometimes it's being animalistic in your movement and like what I'm feeling inside. What would that look like if I moved my
mm.
body in that way? And it doesn't necessarily be dance. It could look really weird, rolling
Right.
around on the floor, but that's part of it.
Are you having a dialogue with your soul when you write poetry?
Mm. Yes. And I also, yes. And it's a dialogue with something else too.
Mm. What
Like it's
else?
my soul, but I feel there's something else coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, when I was writing that Laken Riley poem, it was such a wild creative experience
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't just me. I felt other people coming through in that piece. And I don't know if I've had that I feel like that was the only poem where I felt that.
Mm-hmm.
But in my other pieces, I'm channeling from somewhere else. It is me. I'm writing from my soul, yes. And there's something else at play that's happening. I feel. I can't say for certain, but that's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate this. What does contact with that other thing do for you? And I've got something in
Mm.
mind here. I'm teasing, but I'm curious because you get to now be in contact with the muse, or I don't even
Yeah.
want to mythify it, but something else. What does that do for you?
Mm. It this is probably a weird answer, but it makes me feel really small in a big world, but in a good
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Um, I feel tethered to something, because I
Mm,
think when I'm alone with my experiences, and sometimes I feel really disconnected sometimes from source, from whatever you want to call it, that can feel scary sometimes. And so I feel tethered. There's something holding me in a way. And so there's this sense of a bit of relief, a bit of a sigh that comes of like, oh, okay, there's something else that's holding me here. I can hold me, but sometimes I need something else to hold me too. And so it helps me believe, have
mm,
faith in something. And I think in a way, it helps mm, keep me hopeful, because in the last year and a half, I've been wrestling with hope.
mm.
And that helps remind me.
Say more
Yeah.
about that. Why does it give you hope?
Ah, that whatever I'm journeying through and experiencing, there's more. It's sometimes I can get tunnel vision sometimes in my experience. And I think we all can as humans. When we're going through something really hard, our lens is very narrowed. Whew, it's just making me think of something else as I say that. um, and it widens my vision to think that there's something else that's possible. Even if I can't see it, taste it, touch it, feel it yet, it gives me hope that there's something else possible that will sustain me. Yeah.
Is God the right word for that? And I'm not talking about the one who
Yeah.
created hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. God, spirit,
Mm,
source.
hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. And that's the thing. I'm on my own little faith journey right now too. I don't know. I have more questions than I have answers. And
Sure.
do I believe in something? Yes. I've had too many experiences to not. um, but yeah, I don't, everyone has their own journey with that. But God, for some people, it is God, and it feels that there's
Yeah.
something greater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for letting me poke at it. The reason I was
Mm,
asking is I want whoever's listening to this who may feel alone, who may feel hopeless, who may feel anxious to experience the same thing I believe I have that you have. That is
mm,
this relief of, and when I do this, I feel whole. I
mm,
may be
mm,
crying, I may be slamming my fists on the desk, uh, but I feel alive, human, and whole. And if I
that's
get
it.
to do this for the rest of my life, I'm going to be okay.
Mm,
Everything
yeah.
else can fall apart, but if I have a piece of paper and a pen, I'm going to be okay.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's an opiate or God, you know.
Yeah.
I still have
Yeah.
questions too.
Yeah. Maybe both. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm open to all options.
Yeah.
I have more questions than answers. And that's okay. I think the older I get, the less I know. And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So I'm hoping people who hear this, rather than be inspired to become poets or writers, become
Mm,
inspired to find the thing for them that gives them that same feeling of
mm,
it's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And when I have this practice, which it is for you, I open the
mm,
page and I imagine I can feel you just go into its practice. Um, and then not even getting on stage, which is a whole different practice, but just being able to engage with a depth of yourself and then a connection to something outside. And I think that's
yeah.
what we're all after, especially times now when there
Mm,
is so much turmoil and confusion and tumultuousness.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you pick topics, Laurita? Like you said, there's men's mental health, there's Laken
Yeah.
Riley, or is it
I'm laughing
literally?
because I'm laughing because my one of my he's a mentor of mine as a poet, and he's
Mm,
been a big cheerleader of mine. And he always laughs. He's like, "Well, I'm not a real poet. You're a real poet because you have 200 topics in your notes app."
mm,
So I have topics, yes, and there's things that I just write them down. Will I write a poem about them? Maybe.
mhm,
Some of them I have, yes, but I just write down things that I think I might want to write about. And yeah,
Mm,
I have a list of over 200 now on my phone. And I let the muse guide the way. I just have them there as placeholders. And some I've looked back on it and I think, damn, what was I trying to like? What was that about?
mhm,
I
mhm,
just wrote
mhm,
like two words and I sometimes
mhm.
forget. And that's how the muse works. That's how the creative channel works. It's like it comes in and you act on it or you don't.
Yeah.
Um, and I recently wrote a poem from that list, but I wrote it on the list last year probably. And it was finally time. I started writing it on the
Mm,
airplane. And it's a poem about airports, kind of. It's a metaphor, but yeah, it's about living far away from home. And it was finally time to write that one. And interestingly enough, because I needed to get that out, the things that I feel that people don't understand of me being an expat in another country. And unless, people don't understand what that's like, that lived experience. And I ended up having a 2.5 hour call with my parents, and we had to repair. We had to do some repair work together. That wasn't planned, it just organically happened. And because of news that was shared with me, I said, I kind of wrote a poem about that. And
mm.
I ended up reading it to my parents on the phone. And by the end of it, the three of us were bawling.
Wow.
And yeah, that felt really important though, for them to hear it. At one point, I paused because I was just cracking, and my mom's all worried. Laurita, I was like, I need a second, mom.
Mhm,
Just let
mhm,
me have a moment before I carry on. But I think that was important for our relationship. And it felt really beautiful and healing. And for them to hear me share from the depths of my soul, the things I feel as a long distance daughter
mm.
and what that's like and and also for them, I know it's hard on them and on my whole family. And it wasn't planned, and it was just something really beautiful that happened on that call. And it felt reparative to also do it in that way. And for them to see me in my truth as a writer, as a poet, and the things that I used to do all the time as a kid. They told me all the time, they're like, oh, you write these big long letters and like slip them under our door, in their bedroom. And friends to this day, friends I've had since I was a child, will say, oh, I have like a 3-page letter from you and I cherish
Mm,
it. And it's just something I've done my whole life. And to now fully own it
mhm,
and embody it.
mhm.
And, there was years where I wasn't writing, and to return to that and to return to it in this way has been really beautiful. So to go back to your other question, yes,
Yeah,
I write topics, but I sometimes something comes through like the Laken Riley one, and I didn't plan that. That just came through. I had no plans to write about
yeah.
that.
Do you find I don't want to seed the question so it makes it lean you one way or the other.
Mm.
Do you find the muse is more accessible on airplanes?
Oh God, yes. That's an
Yeah,
immediate yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because I'm unreachable. I
yeah,
mean, there's Wi-Fi on planes now, but I'm unreachable. I'm in the sky, and on my flight to New Zealand, I wrote a poem, and on my flight back, I started writing this new one.
yeah.
And I just lock in.
Hmm.
And people who write on planes, you get it. I
Hmm.
don't know what the name is. There's probably some cool name in the thesaurus that we don't know yet about like what that is when you're just above the clouds and
Right.
you're in a flying metal tube in the sky with a bunch of strangers, and you're on this collective journey and
Hmm.
hoping for the best, and but also so high up and so unreachable. And there's something that happens. I just dial in. And
Yeah,
people who are on planes with me know if I'm traveling with people, I'm just like headphones on.
yeah,
Do not disturb me.
yeah,
Do not disturb me. I'm just in whatever this is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Headphones, hat down, tears.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
I'm not texting someone. Like, I've
Yeah.
told partners just like leave me alone for the next hour. Something just hit, and I need to
Yeah.
cry, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
not talk
I
to
was
you.
reading it to Andy on the plane. I was like, can I redo this verse I just wrote? And I'm like trying to whisper
Mm,
it so that the people in the seats in front of me behind me, I'm like, I'm just gonna read it really quietly, but like
mm.
listen.
Larita,
Yeah.
where is this going to go for you? Do you have an
Mm,
idea? Like, is this will you
well,
stay with therapy? Will you being a therapist rather?
that is the golden question that I
Yeah.
wrestle with all the time. So it's really interesting. I, 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 I have lots of identities, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that. And I do think, though, for this year, so last year was a lot of competing and a lot of slams, and I'll still compete and
Mm,
do slams. But this year in January, my intention was to bring my work on diverse stages and on many stages as possible that
mm,
aren't competitive, that are just different spaces to share my work. And by the end of January, I got a message from someone and they offered to bring me to a festival for my first paid gig. And I was like, wow, because that's what I
mm,
put. Like I was like, I'm a paid poet,
mhm,
like
mhm.
that's what I'm calling in. And I think there's something important for artists to be honored for their work. I think I'm really a big fan of that. I think that that's important.
Yeah.
And I got to share my work at a festival. I also got to share my Laken Riley and my other Violence Against Women poem at a rally. I was helping lead a
Mm,
rally and do a march, and that felt really, really important to me. So
mm,
I'm just trying to bring my work to different places and stages as a service. And I
mhm.
think, especially for poetry, I think it's becoming more valuable, but I still think that there's people who don't understand the
Sure.
value of it. And, I want to be able to bring it to conferences and to show them the impact that poetry can have and spoken word art can have in a
Mm,
room, because you're holding a room when you're performing
yeah.
and doing that work. And so for me, I'm just saying yes to as many opportunities as possible. And I just want to share where I feel my work can land and where it can be valuable and to help shift something for someone, paid or unpaid.
Mm,
I will always still do unpaid stuff, of course, because it's my muse. I don't think I'll ever stop. And with therapy, I think for me personally, I think I've been moving away from that for a long time. However, I'm still very much a facilitator and guiding experiences. So less more of like the one-on-one kind of work and more of the group experiences where I
mm,
still lead retreats, I still lead workshops, I still lead experiences. And yeah, I bridge poetry into that sometimes. But at the heart of it all, both of those things, I'm helping people feel.
yeah.
I'm literally like, if somebody asks me, what's your job description? I make people cry.
Yep. Mhm,
That and whatever medium I'm using, whether it's my facilitation, my somatic work, my writing, my
mm.
poetry, I help people connect deeper to themselves and feel the things and say the things that they haven't yet.
Are you open to sharing a poem here?
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to hear whichever one moves you at the moment.
Oh. That's a big question. Can I share more than one?
Yeah, let her
Is
rip.
there one that you're interested to hear?
I want you to choose.
Okay. All right, cool. Let me just pull up I know most of them off by heart,
Sure,
but let
sure.
me just bring this up for reference. Let's see here in my database of poetry. I think one of them that is, I think it will always be meaningful to me. This one speaks to the collective a
Mm.
lot. Yeah, this one feels important to share. All right. Do you remember the last time the power went out? When the whole neighborhood went dim and every home became a lantern. People gathered on porches and voices you never heard said, "Come on in." Children spilled into the streets, and suddenly yesterday's strangers became today's villagers. We held our phones up like constellations, and for a moment, we remembered what it felt like to be more than a street number, before loneliness became our language with each other. But blackouts end and lights return, and alone we retreat, forgetting what it felt like to hear our neighborhood's heartbeat. The lights came back on, but we didn't. Capitalism has us hypnotized, but the most valuable currency we own isn't the price of our homes, it's the ones inside them. The night the power went out, we realized we were never powerless. We have more followers than we do friends, but Rachel's porch light went out weeks ago and she hasn't left her bed. Her phone keeps pinging, but no one has come knocking. We say we want the village, but no one wants to be a villager. But community isn't meant to be convenient, and Netflix is easier. Being inconvenience is the investment, and belonging is the return, but we've built our boundaries so tall they've become brick walls. Our grandparents didn't need a group chat to know when someone was hurting. They heard it in the deafening silence. A door left closed too long, a porch light that never flicked on, and they'd be banging down your door with soup and soft eyes that said, "You don't have to carry this alone." Back then, connection was our instinct, and now we're inconvenienced by it. Do you feel it? Everyone is exhausted, not lack of sleep tired, bone deep, world is on fire kind of tired. Men carry bags they will never unpack, hiding their pain because no one ever asks. And women carrying entire villages on their back, and postpartum mamas labeled too much when all everyone needed was a village to hold them up. Do you feel it? I felt it the moment my client's mother finally picked up the phone. I was a social worker, and she told me he died 2 weeks ago. And before I could breathe, she said, "He didn't get the help he needed from you." Then, click. That was it. I wonder when he started to lose his village, when his mother did too, and how many people never have one, and when did paid support become the only village people could turn to? Do you feel it? I feel it in every room I walk into. I have felt the collapse of doing life alone, surrounded by 1,000 I'm fines, and it makes me wonder, who are we when the lights go out? What I wonder more is, can we be the village we keep talking about? Maybe the village isn't lost, just some practice, waiting for someone to go first to light the matches. Maybe we don't have to search for it. Maybe we leave our porch light on longer, and maybe we be it.
Beautiful. Man, there's potency in there. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
can't imagine anybody listening to that and not feeling that viscerally.
Mm.
Yeah. What was the line?
Yeah.
Connection is our instinct, but is now an inconvenience? Or now
Yeah,
inconvenienced by
connection
it?
was our connection was our instinct, and now we're inconvenienced by it.
Oof. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for letting me share that
Yeah.
one.
Would you like to share one more?
Yeah. I'm having a hard time deciding.
Is the Laken Riley one too heavy?
I mean, it's heavy. It's definitely heavy. I've got men's mental health. I've got a relationship one that I don't know. I have so many. And then I've got I've got like a really one that like cracks me, because that one is like, I feel that one very deeply. I mean, I feel them all, but that one, because it's newish, gets me. I don't know, Traver. I don't know which one.
Let's hear the Laken Riley one.
Okay. Where is this one? Hold on. Here we go. I thought I'd be better off with my mouth shut, that things would get better if I buried my words and followed the plan. But that's not what's been choking my diaphragm. I'm here to recite all the ways I've been kept up at night by the things they wanted me to keep out of sight, but the truth is, I am done being nice. Niceness won't save me. But we're taught to braid our anger and knit our fury into apologies. Don't confuse consent with palatability. But when I rage, they say, "Is she hysterical, losing her mind, going crazy?" He said, "I'll just give her a hysterectomy." Some outdated belief from the 19th century, cutting off a woman's instincts and creativity, all in the name of perceived insanity. What a world we live in when a woman's anger and emotionality is met with such fragility. So I stand before you now with no justice found, just a report they wouldn't take to court said I was to blame for not having enough evidence, they say. So when I raise my voice, it is not just my own, but for all the Laken Rileys that never made it home. Samantha, Eliza, Rachel, and Sydney, Molly, Vanessa, Ashling, and Chelsea, and all the names denied publicity. She did everything right. Never ran alone at night. And even with her pin location, she put up a 17-minute fight. And it wouldn't matter how hard she tried, left brutally assaulted and killed in broad daylight. 9 months I was harassed and stalked, looking over my shoulder as I walked. "Can I get some help?" I said. "It's just your anxiety," she said. The patriarchy runs through women's veins too, my friend. Like birds of a feather with a whole damn flock, and women are dying, and I don't give a fuck if you misconstrue my anger for hate. I am so damn tired of women not being safe. And I won't rest until lost battles are won and cracked systems come undone. So remember their faces and speak their names, because this war isn't over while any woman's fear remains.
Whew. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Truly, thank you. Thank you for writing it and for sharing it.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share it.
Hmm.
So
Where can
those are
people?
names of women. Those are, just so people know, those are names of real women, all of them that I named, who died on a run or a walk.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, real stories that I, yeah, have come across. Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically with jogging and walking. Yeah.
Stop killing female joggers.
Yes, please.
It's my platform for 2027 and life. Laurita,
Yes.
where can people find more of your poetry or find more of you? Where are you hanging out these days?
Instagram mostly at Laurita Gorman Poetry,
Hmm.
and TikTok a little bit, but Instagram's my jam. So
Okay.
I'm a millennial. TikTok is not my thing.
It's a help.
Instagram. Yeah, but that's where I share some pieces. I share my poetry there. I share upcoming events, and that's how people can connect with me. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And for folks, if you'd
Thank
love
you.
to drop her a message on Instagram, let her know how that any of the poems she just read landed. That would be amazing too. Thank you for listening. We'll have all of this in the show notes. Larita, thank you for joining.
Thanks so
Have a
much,
great
Traver.
rest of your day, folks. Cheers.
Thank you.